The human fleet arrived at the edge of the Vrakti home system and waited. 116 warships surrounded the planet like a noose. Admiral Hyun-soo could have given the order to attack. He had the firepower to turn the surface to glass. But he did not. Earth wanted peace, not genocide. On the Vrakti homeworld, Supreme Overlord Rakthar watched the human fleet through his palace windows. He was 70 years old and had never surrendered in his life. His empire was crumbling. Rebellions were spreading. His grand fleet was destroyed, but surrender felt like death. His chief advisor approached carefully. "My lord, the humans are requesting a meeting. Admiral Kwan himself will come down to the surface." "It is a trap." "Perhaps, but what choice do we have?" Rakthar considered. He could fight to the last and watch his species die, or he could meet these humans and learn what they wanted. Pride warred with survival in his chest. Finally, survival won. "Tell them I will meet, but if they try to take me prisoner, my orbital defenses will fire on their fleet." The message was sent. Admiral Hyun-soo read it and smiled grimly. "He is afraid. Good. Fear makes people reasonable." Admiral Hyun-soo took a shuttle down to the surface. With him went Ambassador Yoona Shin and a small security team led by Sergeant Dong-wook Han. It was dangerous. The Vrakti could kill them easily. But sometimes peace required courage. The meeting took place in a war chamber deep inside Rakthar's palace. The Supreme Overlord sat on a throne surrounded by his generals. He looked at the humans with barely concealed hate. These small, weak creatures had destroyed his fleet. It seemed impossible. Ambassador Yoona spoke first. She was calm, professional, showing no fear. "Supreme Overlord, we come to discuss terms of peace." "Peace?" One of the Vrakti generals spat. "You destroyed our fleet and now you speak of peace? You are conquerors like us." "No," Yoona said firmly. "We are defenders. You attacked our ship. You killed our people. We responded. That is all. We do not want your empire. We want justice." She presented Earth's terms. Full compensation to the families of the Morning Star crew. Release of all prisoners and enslaved populations. Withdrawal from conquered territories. War crime trials for commanders who had committed atrocities. And restriction of the Vrakti military to defensive forces only. The generals erupted in rage. "You would destroy us," they shouted. "Better to die fighting than accept such shame." But Rakthar was thinking. He was old enough to recognize the truth when he saw it. His empire was finished. The rebellions would spread whether he wanted them to or not. The human fleet could destroy his homeworld. He had no good options left. "Your terms would make us vassals," Rakthar said quietly. Admiral Hyun-soo spoke for the first time. "No, they would make you responsible. For 50 years you have conquered and enslaved. You thought might made right. It does not. It only makes enemies. We offer you a chance to change, to become something better than warriors. And if we refuse? Then we blockade your world until your own people overthrow you. The rebellions have already started. You have months at most. We can end this quickly with honor or slowly with shame. Choose." Rakthar looked at the human admiral. He saw no hate in those eyes, only determination. These humans would do exactly what they promised. They had already proven that. "I need time to consider." "You have 24 hours. The humans returned to their shuttle. Dong-wook kept his rifle ready the entire time, watching for ambushes, but none came. The Vrakti let them leave. That was a good sign. On the shuttle back to the fleet, Yoona looked worried. What if he refuses? Are we really prepared to blockade them for months? "If we must," Admiral Hyun-soo said. "But I think he will accept. He is a warrior, but he is not stupid. He knows when he is beaten." 20 hours later, Rakthar sent his response. He would accept most terms, but with one change. The Vrakti would not be vassals. They would be equals. Give them a path to redemption, not just punishment. Ambassador Yoona worked through the night with Vrakti diplomats to craft the final treaty. It was called the Treaty of Krath, named for the nebula where the decisive battle had occurred. The terms included everything Earth demanded, but also a timeline for the Vrakti to rebuild as a peaceful society. Human advisors would help them transition. Cultural exchanges would teach new ways of thinking. Many humans were angry. They wanted harsher terms. They wanted the Vrakti to suffer as the Morning Star crew had suffered. President Minji addressed those concerns directly. "Justice is not the same as revenge," she said. "We have won. We have defended ourselves. Now we must build a peace that lasts. If we crush the Vrakti completely, we become what we fought against. We must be better." The treaty was signed on a neutral space station. Rakhthar represented the Vrakti. President Minji represented humanity. They did not shake hands. They did not pretend to be friends. But they both signed their names and committed to peace. A special tribunal was established to try Vrakti war criminals. The proceedings were held near where the Morning Star had died. Captain Dae-jung attended every session. He was recovering from his injuries, moving slowly, but he insisted on being there. The officers who had served under Thulkax were found guilty. They were sentenced to life imprisonment. Their punishment was to help rebuild the species they had harmed. It was not enough for some, too much for others. But it was justice. A memorial was built at the site of the attack. It was made of crystal and light, beautiful and terrible. The names of all 125 crew members were carved into it. Bora Yang, Hana Lee, Tai-sung Choi, all of them remembered. Representatives from dozens of species came to the dedication ceremony. They brought flowers and songs and tears. The Morning Star had died, but its legacy would live forever. Admiral Hyun-soo returned to Earth a hero. Parades were held in his honor. Children waved flags. People cheered. But he felt no joy. He visited the families of every person who died in the war. 3,000 families. He spent months traveling, meeting parents and spouses and children. One mother asked him, "Was my son's death worth it?" Admiral Hyun-soo looked at her with tired eyes. "I do not know. We defended ourselves. We protected others. We made the galaxy safer, but your son is still gone. Nothing I can say will change that. I am sorry." She hugged him and cried. He held her and cried too. President Minji did not run for re-election. The war had aged her 10 years. She had done what was necessary, but the weight of it broke something inside. She retired to a quiet farm and wrote a book about the cost of leadership. 5 years passed. The galaxy changed. The Vrakti Federation was still finding its way, but it was trying. Former slaves were building new lives. The Galactic Defense Alliance formed, with humans and Vrakti serving together. It was awkward and difficult, but it was happening. Lieutenant Jiwoo became a liaison officer between human and Vrakti forces. He worked with young Vrakti officers who had not been part of the war, teaching them, learning from them. Slowly, his anger faded. He would never forget his friends, but he found purpose in building peace. Captain Jin-ho took command of a deep space exploration vessel. After years of war, he wanted to see new things, to find beauty instead of conflict. Commander Yoonji trained the next generation of pilots. She taught them to be skilled warriors, but also to value peace. Sergeant Dong-wook retired from active service and became an instructor. He taught young Marines about honor and duty, and the warrior's obligation to protect, not destroy. Ambassador Yuna became Secretary General of the Galactic Council. She used everything she learned during the war to prevent new conflicts. She was good at her job. Captain Dae-jung never went back to space. He became a teacher at the Merchant Marine Academy. He told his students about the Morning Star, about good people who died because they believed in peace, about the importance of defending yourself, but also the importance of choosing peace first. Never forget, he would tell his classes, we went to war because we had to, but we ended it because we chose to. That is what makes us human. We can be warriors when needed, but we prefer to be explorers. 10 years after the attack, a ceremony was held at the memorial. Survivors from the Morning Star attended. So did representatives from the Vrakti Federation. A young Vrakti diplomat, barely 20, spoke to the crowd. "I was not born when this happened," he said, "but I have studied it. My species did terrible things. We attacked innocent people. We started a war we could not win. I cannot change the past. None of us can. But I can promise you this. We will never forget. This memorial reminds us of what we were and what we must never be again." Daejung listened to the speech and felt something break free in his chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe acceptance. The Vrakti had changed. Not all of them. Not perfectly. But they were trying. A new merchant ship passed overhead. It was also named Morning Star. The third one to carry that name. The captain hailed the memorial. "This is the merchant vessel Morning Star, carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies. We fly in peace as our predecessors intended. The first Morning Star is not forgotten. We honor their memory by living the values they died for." Daejung looked up at the ship and smiled. Bora would have liked that. They all would have. They died believing in peace, and somehow impossibly their deaths had helped create it. The ceremony ended. People began to leave. But Daejung stayed looking at the memorial. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Talvek system. 30 Vrakti warships waited for them, defending a military outpost and supply station. The Vrakti commanders had expected a small force. Maybe 20 ships. Enough to make a statement, but not enough to win. Instead, they faced 50 human warships, dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers. The Vrakti commanders sent emergency messages to their superiors. This was not a raid. This was an invasion. Captain Jin Ho-song studied the tactical display on the Retribution's bridge. The Vrakti ships were forming a defensive wall around the station. It was a standard formation, predictable. That was their first mistake. "Target their flagship," Jin-ho ordered. "Maximum range. Fire when ready." The Retribution's railgun spoke. The weapon fired a projectile at a significant fraction of light speed. The Vrakti flagship's shields lit up, trying to absorb the impact. They failed. The projectile punched through the shield, through the armor, and out the other side. The flagship died in seconds. Reload. Target the next ship. The other human dreadnoughts opened fire. The Vrakti had never faced weapons like these. Their shields were designed to stop energy weapons and missiles. Solid projectiles moving at incredible speeds were something different, something terrifying. 3 more Vrakti ships exploded before they could even return fire. Commander Yoonji Nam led Ghost Squadron into the chaos. Her fighters were invisible to Vrakti sensors. They flew through the battle like ghosts, appearing only to kill. Her wing destroyed 2 Vrakti cruisers before the enemy even knew they were under attack. "Ghost 2, target that destroyer. Ghost 3, with me. We are going for their command station." The fighters danced through space too fast and too small to hit. Every missile they fired found its mark. Every pass left a Vrakti ship dying. Yoonji felt no joy in it. She was doing a job. Avenging innocent people. The battle lasted 2 hours. When it ended, all 30 Vrakti warships were destroyed or crippled. The human fleet had lost 4 ships. It was not the victory that stunned the galaxy. It was the efficiency, the cold, calculated destruction of a force that should have put up more of a fight. Sergeant Dong-wook Han led his Marines onto the Vrakti command station. The station's defenders fought hard, but they were not prepared for human tactics. The Marines moved in small teams, supporting each other, using cover effectively. Every move was practiced. Every shot was aimed. The Vrakti fought bravely, but bravery was not enough. Dong-wook's team cleared the station level by level. They took prisoners when they could. Killed when they had to. By the time they reached the command center, the battle was over. Dong-wook found the station commander hiding in a sealed room. The Vrakti officer stared at him with hate and fear. "Take him," Dong-wook ordered. "Intelligence will want to talk to him." Back on the Indomitable, intelligence officer Hee-jin Park questioned the captured Vrakti commanders. She was 33, trained in psychology and interrogation. She did not torture. She did not need to. She just asked questions and waited for answers. What she learned made her blood run cold. "Admiral, you need to see this." Admiral Hyun-soo read her report in silence. The Vrakti had been planning to attack human colony worlds for months. The Morning Star had been a test. If humans did not respond, the Vrakti would have invaded. Thousands more would have died. "They were going to attack us anyway," Hyun-soo said quietly. Yes, sir. The Morning Star saved lives. If the Vrakti had struck first at our colonies, we would not have been prepared. Hyunsu felt the weight of that knowledge settle on him. This war was not about revenge. It was about survival. The Vrakti saw humanity as prey. They always would unless humanity showed them otherwise. Send this information to Earth and prepare the fleet. We are not stopping here. News of the battle spread across the galaxy in hours. The peaceful humans had destroyed a Vrakti battle group without breaking stride. Species that had been terrorized by the Vrakti for decades watched in amazement. The Minari sent a formal message of support. The Torvan offered to share intelligence. The Pilkti opened trade negotiations, but some species grew afraid. The Kelvin Consortium met in emergency session. They had always thought humans were weak. Now they realized humans were just patient. What would happen when that patience ran out? On the Vrakti homeworld, Supreme Overlord Rakthar watched the battle footage for the 10th time. He was a veteran of 50 campaigns. He had conquered 12 species. He thought he understood war, but this was something different. How many ships did we lose? He asked his chief advisor. 30 at Telvik. Reports are coming in from other systems. The humans are attacking everywhere. They move in groups, strike hard, and disappear. Our fleets cannot catch them. Rakthar studied the tactical map. Red markers showed where human fleets had been spotted. They were everywhere, hitting supply lines, destroying outposts, avoiding the main Vrakti fleet. It was guerrilla warfare on a galactic scale. We need to bring them to battle, Rakthar said. Gather the Grand Fleet, 300 ships. We will crush them in one decisive engagement. War Commander Thulkax volunteered to lead the fleet. He was confident. Yes, the humans had won a few fights, but numbers would decide this war. 300 Vrakti ships against 100 human ships. The math was simple. Admiral Hyun-Soo received the intelligence report about the Vrakti Grand Fleet. 300 ships. The largest force the Vrakti had ever assembled. They were looking for a final battle. Hyun-Soo gave it to them. Send a message to all battle groups. We are going to the Krath Nebula. That is where we will make our stand. His officers looked worried. Commander Ji-seok Ryu spoke up. Sir, we are outnumbered 3-1. Should we not wait for reinforcements? No, we end this now. The Vrakti think numbers win wars. We will show them that tactics, training, and technology matter more. Hyun-Soo pulled up a map of the Krath Nebula. This terrain favors us. Dense gas clouds. Asteroid fields. The Vrakti fight in open space with big formations. We fight in close with small groups. Here we have the advantage. On the Retribution, Lieutenant Ji-woo Park checked his station readings. He was one of the 12 survivors from the Morning Star. Admiral Hyun-Soo had given him a position on the fleet's most powerful ship. Every day, Ji-woo thought about his dead friends, about Bo-ra and Hana and Tae-sung, about all the others. Captain Jin-ho noticed Ji-woo's expression. You okay, Lieutenant? I want them to pay, sir. For what they did, they will. But remember, we fight for justice, not revenge. There's a difference. Ji-woo nodded, but inside he was not sure he believed it. He wanted the Vrakti to hurt the way he hurt. He wanted them to feel loss. But he kept those thoughts to himself. The human fleet gathered at the edge of the Krath Nebula. Behind them was Earth and everything they were fighting for. Ahead was an enemy that had killed their people and threatened their future. There would be no retreat, no surrender, only victory or death. Admiral Hyun-Soo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and addressed his fleet one last time before battle. Tomorrow we face an enemy that believes might makes right. They have never lost a war. They have never backed down, but they have never fought humanity. We are not the strongest species. We are not the oldest, but we are the most stubborn. We never quit. We never surrender. And we always protect our own, for the Morning Star, for humanity, for everyone the Vrakti have hurt. Tomorrow we fight. Across the fleet, 50,000 voices answered, for the Morning Star. In Vrakti space, the Grand Fleet moved toward the nebula. War Commander Thulkax stood on his bridge and smiled. Tomorrow he would add 100 human ships to his kill count. Tomorrow he would be a legend. He did not know that legends could die. He did not know that the hunters had become the hunted. He did not know that humanity had learned to wage war in the stars the same way they had learned on Earth. With cunning, with patience, with overwhelming violence when needed, the two fleets moved toward their destiny. The galaxy held its breath and waited. The Krath Nebula was beautiful and deadly. Dense clouds of gas glowed in colors humans had no names for. Asteroid fields drifted through the clouds like islands in a poisoned sea. It was not a place for traditional naval battles. It was a place for ambushes and traps. War Commander Thulkax led the Vrakti Grand Fleet into the nebula in a massive battle wall formation. 300 ships spread across space in perfect lines. It was intimidating. It was powerful. It was exactly what Admiral Hyunsu expected. "They fight like they always fight," Admiral Hyunsu said quietly. "They never change. That is their weakness." He activated the fleet channel. "All ships execute dispersal pattern Omega. Battle groups, you know your targets. Make every shot count, begin." The human fleet broke apart. Instead of one large force, it became 20 smaller groups. Each group of 5 to 7 ships moved into the nebula and disappeared into the gas clouds. To the Vrakti, it looked like the humans were running away. Thulkax laughed. "They flee. All ships pursue." "Destroy them!" The Vrakti fleet charged forward, breaking their formation to chase the scattered human groups. They thought they were hunting. They were wrong. They were being herded. Captain Jin-Ho Song watched his tactical display as the Vrakti ships entered the kill zone. His battle group waited in the shadow of a massive asteroid, sensors quiet, weapons ready. 3 Vrakti cruisers passed within firing range. Their attention focused forward. "Target solutions locked," his weapons officer reported. "Fire." The Retribution and her escorts opened fire at point-blank range. The 3 Vrakti cruisers exploded before they could even turn around. Jin-Ho's group immediately moved to a new position, disappearing back into the gas clouds before the Vrakti could respond. Across the nebula, the same scene repeated 20 times. Human battle groups appeared from nowhere, killed quickly and vanished. The Vrakti fleet was being cut apart piece by piece. Commander Yoonji Nam flew through the chaos like an avenging angel. Ghost Squadron hit targets that the larger ships could not reach. Destroyers that thought they were safe, support vessels hiding in the rear, command ships trying to coordinate the defense. Ghost 4, target that communications relay. Ghost 7 with me. I see a carrier. Her fighters danced through the battlefield, invisible death on silent wings. Every attack was surgical. Every target was chosen carefully. The Vrakti did not know how many fighters were hunting them. It seemed like hundreds. In reality, it was just 12. Thulkax watched his fleet die and felt fear for the first time in his life. His ships were not fighting a battle. They were being hunted. Every time his forces grouped together to fight, the humans disappeared. Every time his ships spread out to search, the humans appeared and killed them. Recall the fleet. Reform defensive positions. But it was too late. The human battle groups had cut off the escape routes. The Vrakti ships were trapped in the nebula with predators that knew every hiding place, every ambush point. The hunters had become the hunted. 3 hours into the battle, the Vrakti had lost 90 ships. The humans had lost 12. The math that Thulkax had relied on was meaningless. Numbers did not matter when you could not bring them to bear. Lieutenant Jiwoo Park stared at his sensor display. His hands were shaking, not from fear but from rage and grief. He had been running analysis on the enemy signatures. He had found something. "Captain, I have the enemy flagship, the super dreadnought Dark Star. It is the same ship that destroyed the Morning Star. I am certain." Captain Jin-Ho looked at the young officer. He saw the pain in Jiwoo's eyes. He understood it. They all did. "Lock all weapons on that target. We are going hunting." The Retribution moved through the nebula like a shark. The Dark Star was trying to rally the remaining Vrakti forces, its massive frame making it easy to track. Jin-Ho brought his ship in close using the gas clouds for cover. Range to target, 15,000 kilometers and closing. Wait for it. Wait for a clean shot. The Dark Star emerged from a gas cloud, its weapons firing at a human destroyer in the distance. For just a moment, its flank was exposed. Jin-Ho saw his chance. "All batteries fire!" Every weapon on the Retribution fired at once, railguns, missiles, lasers. The Dark Star's shields flared and failed. Its armor cracked. The massive ship listed to one side, crippled but not dead. Jiwoo watched the enemy flagship burn and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no joy. Just emptiness where his friends used to be. Sergeant Dong-Wook Han and his Marines boarded a crippled Vrakti transport that sensors showed contained prisoners. The fighting inside was brutal. Vrakti warriors defended every corridor with fanatic courage. Dong-Wook lost 8 Marines before they secured the ship. In the cargo hold, they found 23 humans. Prisoners from other ships the Vrakti had attacked over the past year. Some had been held for months. All were malnourished and injured. One woman broke down crying when she saw Dongwook's uniform. "You came," she sobbed. "You actually came for us." Dongwook helped her to her feet. "We always come for our people, always." He called for evacuation shuttles and medical teams. His Marines guarded the prisoners with their lives while the evacuation proceeded. When they finally got everyone out, Dongwook allowed himself to feel pride. This was why they fought, not for revenge but to save lives. Admiral Hyun-soo received a hail from the Dark Star. He almost refused it, but something made him accept. The face of War Commander Thulkax appeared on his screen. The alien was bleeding from wounds. His bridge was on fire behind him. "You fight like cowards," Thulkax snarled, hiding and striking from shadows. Admiral Hyun-soo's expression was cold. "We fight to win. You attacked a peaceful merchant ship and killed innocent people. You thought we were weak because we chose peace. That was your mistake." The Morning Star carried medicine for sick children. "What did you carry?" "Only death." "Now you face justice. I need no justice from prey. Then you will find it from predators. Surrender your fleet and I will spare your people." Thulkax laughed even as blood ran down his face. "The Empire does not surrender. Reinforcements are coming. You will die here." "No," Admiral Hyun-soo said quietly. "You will." He closed the channel and gave the order. The Retribution fired one last time. The Dark Star exploded, taking Thulkax and 800 Vrakti warriors with it. The Battle of Krath Nebula ended. Of the 300 Vrakti ships, only 47 escaped. They ran in panic, abandoning their wounded, leaving their dead. The human fleet lost 31 ships. Each loss hurt. Each ship had families waiting at home. But they had won. Admiral Hyun-soo walked through his ship's medical bay. He saw the wounded. Young people who had given everything for their species. Some would never walk again. Some would carry scars forever. He stopped at each bed and thanked them personally. A young ensign, barely 20, grabbed his hand. "Did we win, sir?" "Yes, we won. Was it worth it?" Admiral Hyun-soo had no answer. He thought of the Morning Star's crew, of Hana and Taesung and Bora, of all the people who died because someone decided they were weak. Was justice worth the price? "I do not know," he said honestly. "But we defended our own. That is what matters." News of the battle spread across the galaxy in minutes. Humanity had destroyed the Vrakti Grand Fleet. The species that had never known defeat had been crushed. Across Vrakti space, enslaved populations rose in rebellion. The Empire began to crumble. But some species looked at humanity with new fear. The quiet merchants who paid their fees had become conquerors. What would they do with all that power? Who would they attack next? On Earth, President Minji read the casualty reports and wept. 3,000 dead, 5,000 wounded. The price of victory was written in blood. She had ordered this. She had unleashed humanity's fury. Now she had to decide what came next. Admiral Hyun-soo received new orders. His fleet was to proceed to the Vrakti homeworld and wait. Earth wanted to talk peace, but the fleet would be there to ensure the Vrakti listened. The war was not over, but the fury had been unleashed. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. The message from the Morning Star reached Earth Command at 0600 hours. Admiral Hyun-soo Kwan was drinking his morning coffee when the alert came through. He was 60 years old, a veteran of the resource wars that had nearly destroyed Earth 50 years ago. He had seen humanity at its worst. He had hoped to never see it again. He watched the black box footage in silence, the peaceful merchant ship, the Vrakti warship appearing. The demands, the attack, people dying, good people who had done nothing wrong. When Bora Yang's final message played, something cold settled in his chest. "Get me President Kang," he said quietly, "and activate the Emergency Council." Within 2 hours, the footage was playing on every screen across Earth and the colonies. 3 billion people watched Hana Lee die saving a child. They watched Taesung Choi run into danger to save others. They watched young Bora send her last message home. In her office, President Minji Kang sat with her head in her hands. She was 48 years old and had spent her entire career working for peace. She had believed humanity could be different this time, that they could explore the stars without repeating old mistakes. "How many?" she asked quietly. 125 dead, replied General Sung-ho Baek. 12 survivors. The Vrakti just left them to die in space. Our rescue ships picked them up 3 hours ago. Ambassador Yuna Shin paced the room like a caged animal. We must respond through diplomatic channels. Economic sanctions, isolation. We bring this to the Galactic Council. The Galactic Council is weak, General Sung Ho said. His voice was hard. The Vrakti have attacked 17 other species. They conquered 12 of them. The Council did nothing. Words will not stop them. So we become killers? We throw away 80 years of peace? We defend our people? That is not murder. That is duty. President Minji looked at Admiral Hyun-soo. The old admiral had been silent through the argument. What do you think, Admiral? Hyun-soo set down his tablet. I think the galaxy believes we are weak. For 80 years we have been quiet. We pay our fees. We follow the rules. We never make trouble. The other species think this is because we cannot fight. They are wrong. We choose not to fight. There is a difference. So you want war? I want the Vrakti to understand they made a mistake. I want every species in the galaxy to know that humans will defend themselves. I want justice for 125 innocent people. He paused. But I also want to remain human. If we do this, we do it right. Military targets only. No civilians. No planets. We are better than the Vrakti. President Minji stood. She walked to the window and looked out at Earth. The planet was green and blue and beautiful. Humanity had almost destroyed it once. They had learned. They had changed. But maybe peace required the ability to fight. She made her decision. General Bayek, you have authorization to mobilize the fleet. Ambassador Shin, you will prepare diplomatic channels for when this is over. Admiral Kwan, you will command the operation. But remember, we are not conquerors. We are defenders. Do you understand? Yes, Madam President. That afternoon, President Minji addressed Earth. Her face appeared on every screen. Her voice carried to every colony world. My fellow humans. Today we mourn the crew of the Morning Star. They were explorers, healers, and dreamers. They believed in peace. They died because someone mistook our peace for weakness. The Vrakti Empire will learn they were wrong. We will have justice. We will defend our people. But we will not become monsters. We remember who we are. Across Earth, humanity responded. The shipyards of Mars roared to life. Hidden construction bays opened on Luna and the moons of Jupiter. Ships began to emerge from places the galaxy did not know existed. For 80 years, humanity had prepared for this moment, while hoping it would never come. They had not forgotten how to build weapons. They simply chose not to use them. Now that choice was over. Captain Jin Ho-song stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Retribution and watched his crew take their stations. He was 38, born on Mars, raised in the military academies that the galaxy thought were just schools. Every human officer had trained for war. They just called it something else. Status report, he ordered. All systems operational, Captain. Railguns charged. Missile batteries loaded. Point defense ready. We are ready for combat. Jin-ho allowed himself a small smile. The Retribution was one of 20 dreadnoughts built in secret over the past decade. Each one could destroy a small fleet. The galaxy had no idea they existed. Commander Yoonji Nam checked her fighter systems. She was 32, a pilot since she was 18. Her squadron was called Ghost Squadron for a reason. Their ships used technology the rest of the galaxy thought was impossible. They could disappear from sensors. Strike without warning. The Vrakti would never see them coming. Ghost leader to all units. Final check. We fly in 5 hours. Her pilots responded one by one. 12 voices. 12 fighters. 12 weapons aimed at the enemy's heart. Eunji thought about the crew of the Morning Star. About people who died because they chose peace. Well, sometimes peace needed soldiers to defend it. Sergeant Dong-wook Han assembled his Marines in the barracks. He was 40 years old and had trained for combat his entire adult life. His Marines were the best humanity had. They had studied every war in human history. They knew tactics that aliens had never imagined. Listen up, he told them. We are going to fight the Vrakti. They think they are warriors. They are wrong. They are bullies who only attack the weak. We will show them what real warriors look like. We fight hard. We fight smart. And we come home. Understood? Yes, Sergeant. In orbit around Earth, the fleet gathered. 147 warships. Some were massive dreadnoughts. Others were fast destroyers. Still others were carriers filled with fighters. Every ship was crewed by people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Admiral Hyun-soo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Indomitable. Through the windows, he could see the fleet stretching into the distance. So much power. So much death waiting to be unleashed. He felt the weight of it on his shoulders. His communications officer approached. "Sir, we are receiving messages from across the galaxy. The Minari are asking if we need assistance. The Torvin want to know our intentions. The Pilgti are requesting we share our battle plans. Tell them all the same thing. This is a human matter. Stay clear." "Yes, sir." Admiral Hyun-Soo activated the fleet-wide channel. Every captain, every officer, every soldier could hear his voice. "This is Admiral Kwan. In 1 hour, we will jump to Vrakti space. We go to seek justice for the Morning Star and her crew. We go to show the galaxy that humanity defends its own. But remember, we are not the Vrakti. We target military objectives only. We spare civilians. We follow the rules of war. We will win this fight, but we will win it with honor. For the Morning Star. For humanity." The fleet responded as one. For the Morning Star. The ships began to move. One by one, they activated their hyperspace drives and vanished from Earth orbit. They were heading into enemy territory. Into battle. Into war. In Vrakti space, War Commander Thulkak celebrated with his officers. The destruction of the Morning Star had been added to his record. 53 ships destroyed. Thousands of aliens killed. He was a hero of the Empire. "The humans are mobilizing a fleet," one of his officers reported. Thulkax laughed. "Let them come. We will crush them as easily as we crushed their merchant ship. They are prey pretending to be predators." He did not know that humanity had been predators long before they reached the stars. He did not know that humans had perfected warfare over 10,000 years of history. He did not know that the fleet heading toward him carried the concentrated fury of an entire species. The Vrakti were about to learn what happened when you attacked humanity. Captain Dae-jung Kim stood on the bridge of the merchant vessel Morning Star, watching the stars drift past the view screen. He was 52 years old, with gray hair at his temples and laugh lines around his eyes. For 20 years he had traveled between human colonies carrying supplies and medicine. It was peaceful work and he liked it that way. Behind him, Lieutenant Ji-woo Park checked the navigation controls. The young officer was only 28, fresh-faced and eager. He still believed the galaxy was a good place where everyone could get along. Dae-jung hoped he would never learn otherwise. In the medical bay, Dr. Hana Lee organized her supplies. She was humming an old Earth song, the kind her grandmother used to sing. The Morning Star was carrying vaccines for a colony world where children were getting sick. Hana had worked all week to make sure everything was perfect. She had 3 children of her own back on Earth. She understood how important this mission was. Down in engineering, Tae-sung Choi cursed at a stubborn coolant valve. The engineer was 42 and built like a bear. He fixed everything on the ship with oil-stained hands and creative solutions. The Morning Star was old, but Tae-sung kept her running. He treated the ship like his own child. At the communications station, young Ensign Bo-ra Yang smiled as she read a message from home. She was 24, and this was her first deep space assignment. Her parents had sent pictures of her baby niece. Bo-ra missed Earth, but she believed in what humanity was doing out here. They were explorers, not conquerors. They brought help, not war. The Morning Star had 137 people on board. Most were civilians. There were farmers, doctors, teachers, and engineers. Some had families waiting at home. Others had made the ship their home. They were ordinary people doing ordinary work. Dae-jung walked to the observation window and looked out at the outer rim. This region of space was wild and barely mapped. Perfect for a captain who liked quiet routes. He checked his watch. In 3 days, they would reach the colony. The children would get their medicine. Everyone would be safe, the console beeped. Bo-ra looked up from her station. "Captain, we have a ship approaching. Unknown configuration." Dae-jung felt a small knot form in his stomach. Unknown ships could mean pirates or slavers. But the Morning Star had never been attacked before. No one bothered peaceful merchants. "Hail them, Bo-ra. Let them know we're a civilian vessel." The view screen flickered. An alien face appeared. The creature had gray skin, 4 eyes, and rows of sharp teeth. Its armor was black and covered with weapons. Behind it, Dae-jung could see a warship bridge filled with soldiers. "I am War Commander Thulkax of the Vrakti Empire. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Dae-jung kept his voice calm. "We're a merchant ship carrying medical supplies. We have nothing of value to you." "We mean no harm," Thulkax laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You are weak. Your species is weak. You will surrender or you will die. Jiwoo looked at Daejung with wide eyes. The young lieutenant had never faced anything like this before. His hand moved toward the weapons controls, but Daejung shook his head. We're not military, Daejung said to the alien. We have civilians on board. Children, please let us go. Weakness, Thulkak spat. You beg like prey. Very well. You will learn what happens to prey. The Vrakti warship opened fire. The first blast hit the Morning Star's starboard side. The explosion tore through 3 decks. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. Red lights flashed everywhere. People were thrown from their feet. Daejung grabbed his chair. Jiwoo evasive maneuvers. Bora send a distress signal. All hands to emergency stations. But the Morning Star was a merchant ship. She was not built to fight. She was not built to run from warships. Another blast struck the engines. The ship shuddered and began to list. In the medical bay, Hana held onto a table as the ship shook. Patients were crying out in fear. A young girl with a broken arm looked up at her with terrified eyes. It's okay, Hana lied. Everything will be okay. A third explosion ripped through the medical bay wall. The air began to scream as it rushed into space. Hana grabbed the little girl and ran for the emergency door. She threw the child through to safety. Then the wall collapsed. Hana Lee died saving that child, crushed by falling metal. In engineering, Tai Sung saw the hull breach warnings. Sections 7 through 12 were venting atmosphere. People were dying. He looked at the emergency controls. If he sealed those sections, he could save the rest of the ship. But there were still people trapped in Section 9. Tai Sung made his choice. He ran into Section 9 and started pulling people out. He got 4 people to safety before the ceiling fell. The big engineer died, buying time for others to live. On the bridge, Jiwoo fought the controls with tears streaming down his face. The ship was dying. They had done nothing wrong. They were just bringing medicine to children. Why was this happening? Captain, hull integrity failing. We have to abandon ship. Daejung's hands shook as he hit the evacuation alarm. All hands abandon ship. This is not a drill. Get to the escape pods. Bora's fingers flew across her console. She was sending Earth the black box data. Everything that had happened. The unprovoked attack. The Vrakti warship. She wanted someone to know the truth. Message sent, Captain, she said. Her voice was steady even though she was crying. The Morning Star exploded in a ball of fire. 12 escape pods shot away from the dying ship carrying the lucky survivors. Captain Daejung held Bora in his arms as their pod tumbled through space. The young woman was badly hurt. Blood covered her uniform. Did the message get through? She whispered. Yes, Earth knows what happened. Bora smiled. Good, tell them we tried peace. Tell them the Vrakti gave us no chance. She died in his arms. 24 years old. She would never see her baby niece grow up. Through the pod window, Daejung watched the Vrakti warship turn away. The aliens had not even bothered to check for survivors. To them, this was nothing. Just another easy victory over weak prey. Jiwoo activated the distress beacon. A message came back from Earth Command almost immediately. 3 words that made Daejung's heart beat faster. Message received. Coming. Daejung looked at the bodies of his crew. Good people. Peaceful people. They had died because someone decided they were weak. He felt something break inside his chest. Something that had kept him gentle all these years. The Vrakti thought humans were prey. They thought humanity was weak because they chose peace. They had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked the wrong species. Earth was coming, and Earth would not come in peace.